Hello, fellow audio nerds. I'm Steph, and this is Major Hi-Fi. This past week, I got a chance to spend some quality time with a brand I had never tried before, Kinera. And they make a wide range of IEMs, but these ones, the Kinera Idun, are pretty affordable actually. They're a hybrid IEM, and I was curious, are these too good to be true? How do they sound, and what can you expect from them? Let's go back in time. I'll share with you my first impressions, and then I will meet you right back here for my overall thoughts on these audiophile IEMs. Here we go. Oh, hey, Steph here. Before getting started into the review, I just want to say a quick thing. If you like this review and you find it really helpful, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel. We definitely want to try and grow a little bit, so definitely want to hear your feedback as well. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Alright, thanks. I'll see you in the review. Hey everybody, welcome to my place. So today I have with me the Kinera Idun. So let's see what's inside the box here. Alright, so as you'll see here, it's a pretty simple package. We've got a carrying case. It's made of like a light metal, maybe an aluminum sort of material here. We've got some documentation, a few different kinds of ear tips, and then the earphones themselves. Now these come with a detachable LITS cable. It connects via 2-pin. Alright, so you'll notice that the Kinera Idun has very kind of fun and playful sort of look. You can see that it's got this blue acrylic shell. It's got this really pretty kind of shiny, stone-looking kind of faceplate. But then it's also sort of translucent, so you can actually see the balanced armatures and the dynamic driver in there. And then additionally, you'll notice too this cable, this LITS cable, looks really, really beautiful. And to me, it actually makes the earphones come across as this kind of classier set of IEMs. Because otherwise, kind of the playfulness of the color scheme and stuff, kind of makes it a little less mature. But then with this cable, this LITS cable, it really kind of takes it up a notch to a classier IEM that is more impressive and expensive looking. So yeah, the driver housings, you'll see that they have kind of a medium large sort of size, but a very interesting shape, one that looks kind of semi-custom. It's kind of looks like it follows the shape of the ear a little bit, the contour of the ear. So let's see how they fit in there. I'm just putting these ear tips back on. And yeah, actually this is an extremely secure fit. Wow. Let me show you something. So there's this little ridge right here, and that is kind of squeezes on this inner part of the ear right there, and it really creates this locking feel when you put this in your ear. And then additionally, because of the length of the nozzle, and then this really tight hook of the ear hook on the cable, yeah, you really get a very, very secure feel. Yeah, very good. Feels like it's really, really in place. Now, maybe this would become uncomfortable after a long period of time, and I'm definitely going to experiment with that and see how it feels, but yeah, I'm just really impressed with the overall kind of secure feeling of them. So the cable here is a very manageable length. I had a really easy time, coiling it up here. And yeah, you'll notice that it's a LITS cable. Per side, there are 4 separate individually insulated conductors that are braided together, and then those meet in the middle here, and then all 8 braid together until it terminates to the 3.5mm termination here. Now that does connect to the IEM via an MMCX connector. I'm sorry, not an MMCX connector, a 2-pin connector. Now this 2-pin, I don't know, something about it feels a little bit like it's not super durable, but when it's connected, the thing as a unit feels durable, so I'm kind of curious about that. But then the 3.5mm, this feels like the actual connector, this is aluminum or something, feels like a metal. So yeah, this feels a little bit stronger than the 2-pin connectors here. So yeah, before getting into listening to these, I just want to talk about the drivers a little bit. This is a hybrid driver design, as I sort of alluded to or mentioned earlier. So there's a dynamic driver, there's a few balanced armature drivers in here, and yeah, you can kind of actually just see them straight through the acrylic shell there. So the dynamic driver is an N50 driver, and the thing that's special about that, according to Kinera, is that, yeah, it sort of gives this, like, kind of balanced and evenly distributes the magnetism. I'm not really sure how that plays out in the sound, but I guess we'll find out. And then, as for the balanced armature drivers, Kinera says that their team of audio engineers hand selected these drivers, and what they wanted to do was give a lot of high frequency detail, have low distortion, but then also give you sort of like stability in the mid range. So anyway, we'll see how this plays out in the actual sound. Alright, yeah, I was just listening to the song Formation by Beyonce, and the low end felt really nice and big. The kick drum and the sub synth had a really nice sense of extension, and had just kind of like this big energy to it. It sounded a little bit louder in the mix than usual, and really actually contributed to like the attitude of the song with that bigness and that stability down there. But yeah, I was impressed by the kind of extension and just like kind of quality of the low end. I'm also realizing as the low end relates to the mid range that there's really great separation between the lows and the low mids. And something else is that the low mids sounded a little bit quieter. Like in this song, I was just listening to Good Life by Sammy Ray, and the bass guitar sat a little bit quieter in the mix than usual, actually, but still had a lot of clarity and detail there. Just a little bit kind of sat backward in space a little bit. And that kind of contrasted with the electric guitars, had a little bit more emphasis on their attack and on the strings than usual. And same thing with like the whirly hammers and the horn stabs had a little bit of extra emphasis there. And that kind of culminated too with the vocal, which sat a little bit more intimately in space than it usually does. So, yeah, it's sort of got a nice high mid presence, and there is fullness in the mid range. Don't get me wrong, there's still definitely harmonic complexity there, but it's a little bit quieter in the mix than in relation to the high mids. Wow, I'm super impressed with the high frequencies actually. I was just listening to the song Inception by McCoy Tyner Trio. And what I'm finding with the highs, the cymbals sound really beautiful. A lot of detail and clarity there. And while like the attack on those cymbals doesn't feel emphasized, the sustain of it for some reason does feel emphasized. It has really nice texture, and the harmonic complexity of those cymbals comes through, so they really maintain a nice sense of character. And it really actually contributed in this song to like my ability to like hear what the drummer is doing and really appreciate kind of like the tonality of those cymbals as well. I'm very impressed also with the soundstage of these. This is very impressive at this price point. I was just listening to the song Mercy Now by Mary Gauthier, and the thing I found really interesting, so of course, because of the frequency response, her vocal sat very, very intimately in space, and so did the acoustic guitar. Like really, the string sounds, the finger picking, really sounded like very present, more present than I'm used to, and likewise. But it contrasted very nicely from the things further off in space. So, for example, the drums, which really sound back in space, I could really hear the room of those drums well, and it helped to contrast that from the intimate vocal. And same thing with the mandolin and the strings, which kind of sit further back in space. There's really a real differentiation between the vocal and the other stuff going on. So, very impressive on that front, and also it felt very tall. It was really tall feeling. The sort of the lowness, the extension I described in the low frequencies of the bass and of the other drums contrasted really strongly from kind of the brightness of the vocal and then the fiddles as well. But anyway, I'm definitely looking forward to spending some more time with these. I think these are going to be a really great option for a lot of you, so I will continue to listen, and I'll meet you back at the Major Hi-Fi office with my overall thoughts. Alright, here we go. Overall, the low frequencies of the Idun have a really nice feeling of energy and thickness. There's a little bit of an emphasis in the sub-region, right around what sounded to me like 40 hertz. And as a result, kick drums, sub-synths, bass guitars, any low-frequency rich instrument sits a little bit louder in the mix and just feels really full in general. And what this does for the mix as a whole is just create this feeling of foundational support that lets the rest of the mix do its thing and be active and moving, while the low frequencies feel very solid. The middle frequencies of the Idun have presence and clarity. I heard a little bit of a boost in the high mids, right around what sounded like between 3 and 5 kilohertz, and this brought vocals forward, it brought string sweeps and horn stabs and acoustic guitar strums and electric guitar distortion forward in space and a little bit louder in the mix. Now, despite this high mid emphasis, the rest of the middle part of the mid-range still felt very full. I did hear a little bit of a cut right around what sounded like 1K, and this sort of created a nice sense of separation between those specifically mid-range instruments and those that had more high-mid information. You could really kind of hear the difference between those two regions of the frequency response. Additionally, the low mids, while sitting a little bit modestly, still had a lot of clarity and had a good sense of energy and movement down there. The high frequencies were super fun. They had a good sense of texture and air, with boosts at what sounded to me like around 8 kilohertz and between 10 and 11 kilohertz. So this really affects cymbals, kind of brought cymbals a little bit louder in the mix, and also gave them a really great sense of character and texture that they would not otherwise have. Additionally, vocals really had a beautiful sense of airiness to them, and what I heard most from them was the chest and the throat. Less of the face kind of sound, but what this does is just give you sort of this like emotional impact from like the rasp of a vocal, for example, and they also had that nice sense of air to them. All that said, I did hear a little bit of a cut around what sounded like 7 kilohertz, and what this did to me was kind of avoid harshness. Now, some vocals will come across as sibilant, just kind of depending on where, like how that vocal is mixed and the specifics of the character of that vocal. But for the most part, I actually didn't hear any sibilance at all, and it really avoided harshness while maintaining all of that kind of clarity and detail that you want out of a vocal. Now, the sound stage of the Idun was very, very well done, and this is the area of these IEMs that really brought them into audiophile IEM world, because there's a really awesome sense of nuance to it. Now, I will say, the soundstage is heavily shaped by the frequency response of these IEMs. They have a feeling of presence, there's sort of this feeling of depth, right? Things feel more intimate, very close to your face. But the contrast and the differentiation between instruments that don't have high-mid energy sitting further back in space was very, very well done, and really brought these above their price point and made them very, very worth the price of these IEMs. So those of you that like a bigger soundstage, I think you'll really enjoy these. As for the sense of height, it felt very tall. There's a lot of low frequency extension here with the sub boost, as well as that airiness that I was describing before as well. And those two characteristics really bring the height to life and really kind of help to separate instruments in space from top to bottom in the vertical domain. And finally, as for the feeling of width, I think that brightness really contributes to it. You really get kind of a nice wide image of the sound, and I think there's great separation in that width and the panning of different instruments there too. So it's a very effective soundstage, one that I think a lot of people will really enjoy. Overall, the Kinera Idun is a very emotionally impactful IEM. It has a lot of texture and clarity in the high mids and the high frequencies, as well as a super solid low end for those that like that extra bass bump and are looking for sort of bass head IEM without losing clarity or anything. It works well for a wide variety of genres, but the ones I particularly liked it for were hip-hop, for pop, for folk music, and the reason is because it really brings vocals to life in a way that makes them really exciting sounding and captures all the detail that brings the emotion of that vocal out of the performance. Thank you so much for watching. For another perspective on the Kinera Idun, check out the link in the description box down below. I've left a link to my colleague's review there of the same IEMs. But anyways, if you liked this review, please give it a thumbs up. And for more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Alright, I will see you next time. Bye.